everyone. Today I will be reviewing a book that's actually very personal to me, and that is Every Last Prayer by Tamara Stone. Let's get started. Okay, so first I want to just recap on this book, on what I thought of it. I was really unsure about reading it, and this was why, is that it dealt with a mental illness. In my opinions, I feel like whenever an author tries to write about mental illness that they themselves have never had, I feel like you can do as much research as you would like, but you will never capture full content of it. It's like trying to talk about the thrills of skydiving, but never been skydiving. I always feel when authors try to write a mental illness, it either goes way over exaggerated or not exaggerated enough to the point where it doesn't really make sense. And so I was really unsure about reading more because I also deal with OCD. It's something I've had since I was very young, and I've learned to live with it. For descriptive detail of it is in my blog, and I'll put the link below if you're interested in reading about that. Anyways, I really was not sure about reading this. So one day I was like, okay, well, I'll buy it. I didn't buy it. I actually rented it from the library because, like I said, I didn't want to buy this book, and then we get halfway through and realize I just can't read this, I can't do it, I don't like it. So I decided, okay, well, I'll just get it from the library, and that's what I did, and I loved it. I loved this book. I think the author did a really good, accurate description of describing a person with OCD, and I know there's a lot of people online. I even talked about this in my blog. There's a lot of people criticizing this book, saying it sugar-coated it, or made it seem like sparkles and rainbows, but this is the thing, though, I felt about the story, is yes, it's about a girl with OCD, but the whole point of the story is not about really her OCD. It's really about her having OCD, trying to overcome it, and finding her place in this world. And a lot of people are criticizing that it doesn't go into details, and there's not that big of exaggeration on it. Well, the thing is also, I mean, if you want an in-depth, detailed story about OCD, go read a psychology book. And like I said, for someone who does not have OCD, you will never be able to write the full emotional effect that this illness has. So I do not like to call it an illness. I like to I don't like the word mental illness. I hate the word mental illness. I just like to consider it a battle. Like, I mean, everybody goes through something like that they have to fight, and people with OCD, and especially for me, that's mine. And it's a battle. I don't like to call it an illness. It's just something I have to live with. I think it was really good. I mean, there were times when I was reading the book where I would start reading it, and I also have anxiety, and I also get panic attack, and there would be times where things would hit close to home, or just being so much caught up in a story about what I have would make me have to put it down for a while and read something else, because I kept reading about it. I felt like I was more contemplating on my OCD as well. And other than that, I think the author did a fantastic job writing about it, because like I said, it's about a girl finding herself. I mean, this book I can relate to so much. For example, okay, Sam is big with the number 3. It's just something she always has to have 3. Her speedometer always has to land on 3. And I don't know if this is something like with a lot of OCD people, but 3 is a huge number for me too. Like, I gotta click my pen 3 times before I can actually write with it. And I don't know, 3 just seems like a huge number. And then the thing with her friends, I was able to relate to. And I've known them since I was in kindergarten, mostly like how Sam knew hers. But I think the problem is when you have friends for that long, and it's a huge group, there always is one person that ends up feeling a little left out, or they end up breaking off. And that's what happened a lot in my group when I was in high school, is that they would forget me and stuff, or they would just not talk to me, and not really on purpose, or like they would invite each other to things but then forget about me, or just I never really felt like my friends were actually there. And I always felt like I could never tell them what I wanted to tell them. I could never tell them about my anxiety or OCD, because not because I was scared they would judge me, but just because I didn't think they'd understand. But then, like Sam, I actually, as I kind of broke away from my group, I found a great group of friends where I was able to tell them more and open up to them about my OCD, things I would have never have been able to say to my other friends. And like, it was a small group of us, and we kind of created like this secret kind of group, and it's where we kind of just sat and we talked about how we felt, and it was great, and it kind of reminded me a lot about this story, so I was able to relate to this story so much, and it was really great to read, how to know that you're not completely alone. And I laughed at the part where AJ is teaching Sam to play guitar, and she's like, please let this be real, please let this be real. I know she always has like these daydreams about things like this, but when she's like, please let me be real, please let me be real, I honestly remember it as when I was like a teenager and liking a guy, and time. Like, he'd be talking to me, I'd be like, oh my gosh, this has to be real. Like, you're scared you're gonna wake up at any moment, it's gonna be a dream. You don't want it to be a dream because it's so perfect and beautiful. But as we read this book, it's actually really interesting, and I think it's something we can all take away from it, is that Sam saw these people, but they were not who she thought they were. She sees these people, and she thinks, oh, they have their life together, they're perfect, blah, blah, blah. But then as she starts to meet these people, she realizes there's actually much more deeper struggle going on with them. And I think that's true even nowadays. I think we tend to get caught up in our own emotions, our own feelings, that we just assume everybody else has it better than us and everybody else doesn't have to deal with anything. But honestly, if you just sit down and start listening to people, you're going to find that there's a lot of people just like you. That's one thing I found with this new group of friends I found. They were going through just as much as I was. And it really does help when you can find people that are very confident in themselves, and even if they are going through something, they'll help you along. I mean, honestly, this is a word, like, if you are going through anything whatsoever, find someone you can rely on that you know is not going to turn your back on you. And even if you think it's impossible and you're not going to find it, just look around, because honestly, I didn't think I'd find it, and I just kept looking and I found it, and I really hope you can too if you need that. So there was this huge plot twist, like huge plot twist. Like when I read it, I wasn't even sure I read it. It turns out Caroline isn't even real. Okay, and I was thinking at first, maybe Caroline was coming to her as a ghost type thing, but no, Sam's mind somehow created Caroline to be a real person by an article she read over a year ago. And I don't know, I kind of was disappointed in that plot twist. I didn't like that plot twist because I kind of felt the author was just adding that plot twist in just to make the story more interesting. I think good as bad. Good part was of it, I think it kind of shows how Sam was trying to cope with all these feelings she was going through by her brain just making up someone and giving her strength to do it. But that feels bad because, like I said, I feel like the author is just writing this book and then she's like, yeah, you know, not a big plot twist has happened in a while, so I'm just gonna do this, and makes her completely fictional. Well, she wasn't fictional. She actually did live at one point, but no apparent reason. Like, it was a plot twist that maybe should have not happened. But, like, when Sam was shocked that she wasn't real, part of me was wondering, though, like, wouldn't have Sam looked for her poetry or saw, well, obviously she would have if she went to the Caroline's corner. But then her locker, how Sam was said, oh, she's always by her locker. So when Sam eventually, like, I don't know, in high school when I went to go talk to my friends, I met them at their locker. Like, would Sam ever go to Caroline's locker? And back to thinking Caroline was a ghost, I thought maybe Caroline was coming to Sam to try to save Sam in a way that Caroline could not save herself. But one of the red flags that did come up to me when we find out Caroline's a ghost, but when we met Caroline and Sam was asking, one of the red flags that did go up when we met Caroline was the fact that she knew things about Sam that would make no sense for her to know. For example, when they're talking about AJ, and Sam's like, I don't know, why does AJ hate me? And Caroline's, well, he doesn't like you from what you did to him in the past. Like, how would Caroline have known that? And that was a little red flag for me, but I wasn't really sure. I kind of just ignored, like, maybe AJ told her or something like this, shared it in the group. I mean, with this book, it wasn't really much to talk about. I mean, it's not like I can go say, and here's this book, and this happened, this happened. I feel like this book is more of a book you read and then you kind of think about. It's not really a book where you read, you're like, that was the best story ever. I really took something away from it. I think the only way someone can really take something away from this book is if you can relate to the main character. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Yeah, I mean, it helped me a lot. It helps me, like, kind of take a step back and evaluate myself. And I just want to say a quick tip that if you are going through anxiety, depression, OCD, anything, find someone. Find someone to talk to, because honestly, there's people out there that will listen to you. There are, and I mean, there was times in my life I didn't think anyone was listening to me, and they were, and you just gotta find people. Anyways, thank you for watching. Bye.